Huh?
Beautiful morning in downtown St. Petersburg, 81 degrees. Feels like 89, however, and it's we're in our summer pattern, that's for sure.
Yeah,
It's humid.
yeah, it's all good.
Yep. I'd like to remind you folks, first, pick up our Primal Edge, please. This is our one-shot wonder, over 310 organic cell-ready liquid ingredients, always easy to take, and it lets the good stuff in.
Gets the bad stuff out.
That's right, and it's only $89 every month to your door, and this ensures you get all the nutrition you need if your diet is good, too. And of course, we'd like to remind you to pick up our Health Signals newsletter. This is $10 a month, $5 an issue, and it follows the show, and it goes where we go. So, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, boy, you know,
Getting back in the routine, isn't it?
Yeah. We've been back a week, and it's good to be back. That's for sure.
Yeah.
We're getting back into routines and everything like that. Part of the subjects today is going to be about diet, and one of the things that we have always talked about in the past is that we have always been confused of why when we go to the vet. When we go to the vet and we ask, the vet asks about our dog, and they always mention diet. They know, what are you feeding the dog? So they know. And when we go to a human doctor, that doesn't happen.
No. In fact, if you fill out the questionnaire, they want to know what diseases your family's ever had and what drugs you're on.
Right.
And do you drink? And if so, how much do you drink? And do you smoke? And if so, how long you've been smoking? But they never ask you about what you eat.
That's right. There's a new expert urging, however, that evaluation of diet at routine checkups should be a thing. And it says here that the time has come for routine health care visits to include some form of dietary assessment and counseling. And this is according to the American Heart Association, and is published in Science magazine. So this would be a step in the right direction, you would say. They say dietary patterns and quality are not sufficient prioritized when addressing these
modifiable risk factors during regular healthcare visits.
Yeah, and it's given the evidence that diet contributes to disease and mortality is a risk factor worth screening for continuously. I would say that's true. Poor diet quality has surpassed all other risk factors for death, according to 11 million deaths, and about half of these being the cardiovascular disease. And this was according to the Global Burden of Disease Study. Boy, they have lots of these kinds of studies, don't they?
Yeah, but it's interesting because when you first started working as a personal trainer, you were warned on penalty of, I don't know what, sneaking up on you in the dark, that you should not be you couldn't give any dietary advice at all.
True.
Nothing, you couldn't talk to anybody. And what you do is, all you can do is talk about your own experiences.
Right, unless you're a dietitian, and this varies from state to state. In Florida, it's the Dietary Council, and these people.
And you have to be licensed?
You have to be a licensed dietitian in order to talk about diet. And so this could be a problem for a doctor, perhaps, if he's not a dietitian himself. Maybe he can't.
Well, maybe that, and I don't think there's any classes in medical school on health, on diet, and the relationship to health.
I think they kind of skim over that part. Yeah, it seems like it.
It's everything's all about the actual, science and diagnosis and dosing, and we tend to, doctors are taught, and it's not their fault. The system teaches, throw a pill at it. There's got to be a pill for it.
Yeah.
There's got to be something you can give someone to.
Well, it's got to be registered as a disease of some kind, and then you kind of look up, what do I do for it? And then there's your answer right there.
It's easy.
And most of them are symptom related. In other words, we're going to get rid of the symptom for you. It may not do the disease, but you're going to feel a little bit better, perhaps.
Well, masking symptoms is what we do.
Pretty much.
There's so much we don't understand about health and about medicine and about treating disease and so on, that you try and look for something that's going to get you some result that's positive.
Yeah, the statement authors reviewed 15 existing screening tools assessing each to provide insight on the feasibility of incorporating these as an evidence-based dietary screening tool for, in a routine practice.
So in other words, a checklist of, what did you eat kind of thing?
Yeah, it says these barriers can be overcome. We want a valid, reliable way to assess diet that reflects the best science, and most of the tools assessed take under 10 minutes to use. 3 of these tools assessed meet criteria set forth in a statement that may provide a framework to help practices incorporate diet into screening into their workflow.
But it's an interesting phenomenon when you ask somebody what they ate. So many times I've had conversations, and I know you have,
yes,
with people who say, they say, well, you look good and you don't have any pain from your arthritis, what are you doing? And I say, well, I just don't eat grains because they're inflammatory, and they don't agree with me, so I don't have pain. And they say, what do you mean? And I said, well, no bread, no cereal, no pasta, no pizza, I don't eat potatoes. There are things that I don't eat. And they say, what do you eat? They go into a panic that there's nothing left to eat if you don't eat those things. But the other thing about those surveys, they're notoriously unreliable because people don't remember what they ate.
Yeah, and most of them are just questionnaires of what you remember you ate.
Right.
And the quantity that you have. And who knows what a cup of this is and a cup of that is.
Or, and
who cooks that way anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting when you ask somebody what they ate. Well, I never eat that stuff. Really? What do you have for breakfast? Oh, I have cereal. It's like I never eat that stuff.
And it never really comes up when we talk about processed food. Most of the time, the bad information is about processed meats. And that's where they come up with the processed food, but not so much
the boxes.
Yeah, all the boxes of cereal and the breads and the pastas and the donuts and all these highly processed foods. I mean, most of the vegetarian process is processing the food so you can eat it so it doesn't damage you.
Right, because we don't digest raw.
Yeah, we don't digest, so you have to cook it, and you have to cook it extensively. Sometimes you cook it twice, as with beans, refried beans, and things like that. There's reasons why we did these things, and people have been talking about raw food diets and things like that. The best food to eat raw would be only 2 categories that I can think of, and one is fruits, but the other is animal meat.
Raw.
Sushi, yeah.
A sushi,
yeah, and fish,
Yeah, I always feel.
And these things digest very quickly and very easily,
Right.
but the rest of the stuff with all the fiber in it digests very difficulty.
Yeah, we had sushi the other night, and I always feel satisfied, full,
and
light.
Yeah, I have the same thing.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll come back to this in a minute.
Yeah, I guess we're on a break here, so we will be right back. And in the meantime, please pick up some of the items that we talked about, like the Primal Edge and like our Health Signals newsletter. And Ellen and I will be right back. You know what's cool? Taking something that's good for you. Something specifically formulated to help with weight loss, better sleep, stress reduction, and the need to detox.
Nico, our hunter and gatherer ancestors found all their nutritional requirements for health in their wild environment. But today, our food sources no longer contain the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients our bodies need to stay healthy and strong.
That's why we need Primal Edge Daily Nutrition. It includes a special blend of ionic, soil-based vitamins, minerals, fatty, and amino acids in an easy-to-use liquid form.
Primal Edge is powered by highly concentrated fulvic and humic acids, nature's preferred delivery system. They've been called miracle molecules because, like sunlight, air, and water, life cannot exist without them.
That's right, Paige. They ensure we receive all the nutrition we need to be healthy and thrive. We take it every morning.
Primal Edge, formulated and approved by Nico and Paige of Living a Primal Lifestyle. Buy it today for just $89. Click on the Primal Edge banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
TFNN is excited about our new software charting program, The Art of Timing the Trade Charts. In collaboration with Tom O'Brien and using his best-selling book, The Art of Timing the Trade, Your Ultimate Trading Mastery System, David White has programmed an outstanding piece of software that will complement any trader's methodology. Using this first-of-its-kind program, The Art of Timing the Trade Charts allows you to scan thousands of stocks for Fibonacci formation setups, including Gartley's, ABC's, butterflies, and much more. The Art of Timing the Trade Charts is designed designed to help you when scouring the markets for stocks just beginning to form the trading patterns that many investors spend days, weeks, or even months searching to find. And right now, we're offering licenses available at only $79 a month. We are so confident that you're going to love this new charting software that will even give you a 30-day unconditional money-back guarantee. Don't miss out on this incredible new piece of software. Get your copy of The Art of Timing the Trade Charts today by visiting TFNN.com. Will the S&P 500 continue to climb? For bold trades on U.S. large-cap stocks in either direction, trade SPXL, SPUU, or SPXS. Directions Daily S&P 500 Bull and Bear Leveraged ETFs. Direction Leveraged ETFs. An investor should carefully consider a fund's investment objective, risks, charges, and expenses before investing. A fund's prospectus and summary prospectus contain this and other information about Direction shares. To obtain a fund's prospectus and summary prospectus, call 866-476-7523 or visit directioninvestments.com. A fund's prospectus and summary prospectus should be read carefully before investing. An investment in the funds is subject to risk, including the possible loss of principal. The funds are designed to be utilized only by sophisticated investors such as traders and active investors. Distributor Foreside Fund Services, LLC.
So we're reading from this article, Experts Urge Evaluation of the Diet at Routine Checkups. And they're talking about a couple of different tests. One is called the Rapid Eating Assessment for participants, shortened assessment, and then they have an assessment called the Mediterranean Diet Adherence Screener. They ask more than 10 questions and cover major food groups, as well as, like you said, processed food and alcohol consumption. Part of the problem of the course is if we're going to be taking up time asking about diet and tracking people's diet, now we have to come up with some kind of code for the doctor to put in there so they can bill the insurance company or whatever,
Right.
you know. So these things have to be there. And this can be quite consuming as far as time is concerned, and we know that doctors work on a very, very short time span. So maybe this would be asked not by the doctor, maybe by the personal assistant.
But generally, they hand you a clipboard when you walk in the doctor's office and go fill this out. You
Right.
know, and you do it. They overbook, they overlap bookings, and you end up sitting anyway. It gives you
Right.
something to do while you're in the waiting room.
Right.
And
Of course, here in America, we have no standard diet that anybody would recommend, except maybe the Mediterranean diet. People kind of lean towards that, but the big push these days have been going without meat, without animal products.
yeah, all of a sudden.
Yeah, well, it's been going on for a long time, but then if you're in the food business, you can understand why. The animal products are much more costly to keep, distribute, process, and everything else that goes along with it. So this would be nice. A healthy diet can improve cardiovascular disease and outcomes and all the other different things that we talk about.
You know, it's interesting because there is actually a Human Nutrition Research Center on Aging at Tufts University in Boston. And guess who's funding it?
Who?
The USDA.
Ah.
And so, you know, you have to wonder what they're trying to find out. But the vice chair of the writing group and lead and senior scientist of the cardiovascular nutrition team, her name is Alice Lichtenstein. She said an important component in addition to evaluating diet quality is targeting actionable changes, helping patients set achievable dietary goals, and then following up at the next visit. We're going to have a huge paradigm shift in the whole way that doctors approach medicine. Because, you know, how many times have you walked into a doctor's office and the doctor was way overweight, smelled like cigarettes or something, you know? I mean, it's do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, do you want to look like your doctor? I guess that's a question we need to ask before you go there.
Well, at least the doctor looks like everybody else, so people are comfortable, you know?
Yeah.
But this is a whole different way of looking at the world, and even taking the time. And the doctors are very busy, and they have to learn so much just to do the medical part.
Yeah.
And
Now, we
now-
also have to talk about associations that fund these types of research projects. Because if now they are being funded by the people who are producing certain kinds of foods, then you can see how that could be skewed to that.
Well, Big Pharma has been influential in the way diseases are treated. Maybe institutes with food research could also be influential.
Well, the association that they talk about here, the Heart Association, receives primarily funding from individuals, foundations, and corporations, including pharmaceutical, device manufacturers, and other ones. They all make donations, and they also have specific fund programs and association programs. Association has strict policies, however, to prevent these relationships from influencing the science content. Revenue from pharmaceutical and device corporations and health insurance providers are available at such and such, so you can see
At the
who actually is
website.
doing it. I don't think that's really helpful. Just making a list of people who do that doesn't prevent them from giving you the wrong
Well,
information
people are
either.
people, and subconsciously, unconsciously, you may have a thought that goes along with the funding and with the approach and philosophy of the institution funding the research. And, too often we have, when you go to prove a hypothesis, you look for whatever's going to support your hypothesis instead of being
you don't look for the
scientifically
other.
objective.
Yeah. So there's another article here I have here that is called Metabolic Health and Lifestyle Medicine Should Be the Cornerstone of Future Pandemic Preparedness.
Yeah, this article is interesting because it talks about, kind of the lessons we came upon in terms of this pandemic. And they are things like preparing hospitals and looking for rapid tests and looking for treatments and vaccines, but it doesn't actually address all of the other elements.
Well, the
pandemic.
infrastructure of how to release products to the people, how to release the information. I mean, one of the things that we have commented on with this pandemic is that there's really two sides to the story, and it seems more political than anything else. So we're hearing two different things. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask. Don't socialize, socialize. Socializing is good for us. Socializing is bad for us in this instance. So it's really confusing to people. We have community laws and regulations, and we kind of have to go by those. So if we're asked to wear a mask and you're want to do business with somebody, you're going to have to comply with that. That's just normal. And putting up a ruckus over those things, I think, is foolish. I think we have to do as much as we can personally, and it's always been for me, and that's the reason I brought up diet in the previous section, because I really do think it starts with the food, it starts with the nutrition, it starts with your body being able to fend off these insults on a continuous basis. And if we're into a new normal like this, then I really think we better start, all the people out there in the audience, you better start looking at your diet very, very carefully, because that's the number one thing that fuels you. We have fuel so we can keep going, and then we have to rebuild and repair our body.
That was the second thing.
Yeah, so we need the proteins and all these complete proteins to rebuild our body and get things that are broken fixed. And we need our body to be able to rest to be able to do those things, and not constantly fighting off things, because then you're not in a repair mode at all. So, and food is the thing that we put in our body to achieve these goals.
Yeah, and to build our immune system.
Yes, and we have fuel, and we know there are two types of fuel. One is carbohydrates, and one is fat. And we know carbohydrates, we all use these. We know we all use fats too, but that's the biggest problem, I think, is that we don't use enough of the fats.
But the word fat has really become a
bad
pejorative
word.
term.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a three-letter word, not a four-letter word, but it's a bad word.
Well, put S on it, fats.
Yes, there you go. And it's a four-letter word. I like it. That's a good idea. So fat has become the enemy, and now we know, because of living a primal lifestyle and all these other people that are talking about paleo and primal and keto and carnivore types of diets, that these things are impacting us in a very, very good way. if you go on the internet, if you go onto YouTube and start looking at the keto diets and the paleo diets, the primal diets, any diet that where your body kind of shifts into a fat mode where it's going to be burning fat instead of carbohydrates, we know that we feel a lot better, we don't get hungry, and even though maybe during the midday we have some chocolate or something like that that kicks us back in, we're going to be all right in another hour or so because we're fat adapted, and we'll talk about that too. So we'll be right back, folks.
We'd like to tell you about the personal training studio that Nico is the owner and president of, Performance Training. Since 1998, Nico has trained individuals and groups to improve their health both mentally and physically. As a certified personal trainer, Nico's main focus is on demonstrating exercises correctly to avoid injury and teaching his clients how to manage their past injuries while getting the most out of their personal training sessions. The Performance Training Studio is filled with unique training equipment that enhances balanced results at a faster rate while minimizing damage and discomfort. For more information, you can give Nico a call at 727-418-8740 or email him at nico@tfnn.com. Let him know you heard him on TFNN and save up to $100 on a special package just for TFNN listeners. Act today. If you're not currently using the TAS Profile Scanner when looking at setting up your trading opportunities, then your arsenal is short a mighty weapon. The TAS Profile Scanner is a standalone piece of software that instantly filters over 2,500 global financial markets such as stocks, ETFs, commodity futures, and Forex. Headed by Steve Dahl, TAS understands that in today's technological world, the use of top-flight software applications and technical analysis expertise is essential to successful trading in today's market. You also gain access to the webinar that Steve Dahl and Tom O'Brien just hosted, The Best Way to Use the TAS Profile Scanner to Profit. This webinar archive is available for all subscribers immediately upon signing up. All new subscriptions also come with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to risk. Start your subscription by visiting the front page of TFNN.com today, and you'll find the TAS Profile Scanner under the Services tab. Sign up today. Are you in the market for buying or selling real estate in the Bay Area, including the surrounding St. Petersburg, Tampa, and Clearwater markets? Tiger Real Estate LLC is a firm that has extensive experience in the Tampa Bay area. Whether you're looking to sell your current property for maximum value, or you're in the market for a second home or investment property, Tiger Realty has the experience across all areas of real estate in the Tampa Bay area to help buyers and sellers make the most informed decisions across all price levels. From the price you should be paying per square foot in certain up-and-coming areas to the type of cash flow investment properties are capable of creating, Tiger Real Estate can help you make the best decision when it comes to all areas of the market. Before you make one of the biggest decisions of your financial future, call Tiger Real Estate LLC today at 727-329-8322 or email us at tiger@tfnn.com. That's 727-329-8322. Call us today.
This segment is brought to you by Think or Swim. For more information, just click the Think or Swim banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
So the reason I brought up the fat burning is in this article, which is actually a paper written on testing. In the abstract, they talk about the risk factors being dysregulation of the immune response characterized by lymphomia and associated with cytokine storm. Now, a cytokine is the movement of liquid in your body, letting the good stuff in and taking the bad stuff out kind of thing. And it's really important to realize that this is the problem here. If you're not fat adapted, your body goes into over dysregulation. In other words, it's fighting things it doesn't know. It's fighting it on all different fronts. So your body goes into this hyper defense mode where everything is attacking everything. And in the cases is you're going to have trouble breathing. It's attacking some of your good cells as well as the bad cells. So it's really a problem with the diet because of people not being fat adapted.
And there's all kinds of imbalances in the systems because of
because
that.
if you're looking at cardiovascular disease, if you're looking at the hypertension, obesity, you're looking at diabetes, even type 1 or type 2. These are all the diseases related with the digestion of carbohydrates being switched instead of burning fat, which is what we're born with and every animal on the planet runs on. We always run on fat.
And there's some level of autoimmune disease.
And that's part
components.
of the autoimmune disease.
Yeah.
That part of autoimmune, your body doesn't know quite what to do with it because it's too confused. And it's too confused, I think, and this is my personal opinion, because the diet is wrong. We've gotten away from our ancestral type of diet that we eat from the area that we live in. We eat primarily animal products, with a little bit of fruit here and there during seasons, and not so much vegetables and roots and things like that. I think certain people in different countries, high Andes, have eaten potatoes for years, and this seems to help them with the altitude. So if you're in a certain area and you're eating the local food that's always been there, this is what keeps you healthy in that area. And I think it's important to understand those things.
We have to recognize food as medicine.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because this article goes on to talk about that. I didn't actually have any idea that there was such a thing as lifestyle medicine. I never heard that term before. And it looks like there's something out there that's slowly creeping into the traditional medicine, because they talk about using lifestyle factors to evaluate and address problems and including mostly food, choices, and even aging, they say, which is traditionally thought to be unmodifiable, may be partially modifiable, with biological age and immune age superseding chronological age as predictors of outcome. Increased relative biological age, which can be inferred from a number of potential biomarkers, is tightly linked to lifestyle factors such as smoking, being sedentary, excessive alcohol intake, and a poor quality diet. I mean, to see things like this in an article, in a scientific article, gives me some hope that maybe we're moving a little bit in a direction that we need to go. But I think it's the people don't understand this. The general population doesn't have this message. So how do we get that message?
Well, the message before, before the turn of the 1900s, was always grandma and grandpa. This is what they ate, we ate. What started the big change for me is the advertising of all of a sudden you're in a different country. We came from Holland, we went to Canada, and all of a sudden we have a TV and it says they eat cornflakes. And we never ate those things. We always ate what we usually ate for dinner. If there was leftovers, we threw that in the pan with the eggs. So the changes that took place was because of advertising, people saying, hey, I want to sell you something, and hey, this is good for you, by the way, because I said so. And it's not what your grandmother ate. And imagine this was a big shock, but I always remember my mother being able to set us in front of the stove and we can cook our eggs and bacon ourselves. No, that didn't happen.
No, it's too...
But the cereal we could do ourselves. I never fixed bacon and eggs. That should be probably the first thing they taught me.
Well, it was a hot stove. You could burn yourself.
Well, that's true. But, I mean, kids learn very fast. You put them in close to the fire, and they're not going to stick their toe in there more than once. I mean, that's
more than once.
That's just the way it works. But, as soon as my mother brought home the Kellogg's cornflakes, put the bowl in front of me, I can pour it all myself, and she can go off and make the beds and things like that and rest in the afternoon instead of being busy all day.
Yeah.
And then when women had to work, too, that was essential. You probably couldn't even do the women's movement without the fast food and the TV dinners and things like that, perhaps. So this is kind of what's, for me, started the bad diet, because of the advertising.
It certainly put the whole process, the whole food pyramid. You remember the food pyramid? And that was on television, too. especially in the cereal ads,
Right.
because the grains were the base for the grains, the cereal and the bread.
Yeah, and this is where cookbooks come from, because the first cookbook was probably a Betty Crocker tried, a company trying to sell you their product. And here is how to use it. Because before, you've never used this stuff before. You might have made bread back in the old days, but now you're making cookies and biscuits and all kinds of little, there's lots of cakes, things like that, which we love. We know.
Well, sure we do.
That's why our food went to crap, I think. So most severe disease may benefit from more restrictive approaches for a short time, including a low-fat, whole food-based diet. But if you really want to get into the meat of things and you want a long-term solution, you're going to have to go back to the way our ancestors have always eaten. You have to go to a fat-based diet. You're going to have to have something on the stove that has fat in it, and always cooking. You cook with lard. You're recycling the fats. This is what makes it great and makes it cheap. But when the American and the Europeans started advertising, no, you should be using this instead of this, and you don't use the fat and the butter, the oleo and all these manufactured products. These are the first instance of highly processed foods, and they're the ones that gave it to us. We never had those before, and they put down lard, which was one of the greatest things. Even McDonald's used lard in the beginning. That's why they're potato chips, and they spent millions of dollars trying to come up with a way for those potato chips or those fries to be the same, but cooked differently. Yeah, they wanted to standardize it. They found a way to do it. Human beings find ways, but they found it with a product that's not as healthy for us. So all the stuff that we're talking about has to start with the diet. And if you want to be free of things like COVID and not have to worry about that, you start with your diet and you build up your immune system. So these things are kind of a small insult, and your body goes, I can handle this, no problem.
Yeah, but you also have to do your homework. You have to be willing to look into it and see what exactly am I eating? Things like grass-fed beef, grass-finished beef, free-range chickens.
Yeah. We have to all know these terms now because we don't have grandma and grandpa teaching us from long ago how to do this. We have some advertising guy and it really makes me mad because, this is the cornerstone of our system here, and it needs to be changed. The money cannot be number one. It should be health. I believe.
And on that note, we'll be right back.
Stick around, folks. You know what's cool? Taking something that's good for you. Something specifically formulated to help with weight loss, better sleep, stress reduction, and the need to detox.
Nico, our hunter and gatherer ancestors found all their nutritional requirements for health in their wild environment. But today, our food sources no longer contain the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients our bodies need to stay healthy and strong.
That's why we need Primal Edge Daily Nutrition. It includes a special blend of ionic, soil-based vitamins, minerals, fatty, and amino acids in an easy-to-use liquid form.
Primal Edge is powered by highly concentrated fulvic and humic acids, nature's preferred delivery system. They have been called miracle molecules because, like sunlight, air, and water, life cannot exist without them.
That's right, Paige. They ensure we receive all the nutrition we need to be healthy and thrive. We take it every morning.
Primal Edge, formulated and approved by Nico and Paige of Living a Primal Lifestyle. Buy it today for just $89. Click on the Primal Edge banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
The gold market has taken off topside in a large way in 2020. If you want to take advantage of this sector, now is the time to subscribe to my gold report. The gold report took profits in 4 of its equities in the gold portfolio in the first week of January for a combined profit of 99.2%, with 2 positions left in the portfolio that have a profit of 67.5% as of January 7th. The Gold Report is a comprehensive look at the metals sector as well as the markets that move gold, which is the currency and bond markets. New subscribers get a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. Every Monday morning, I publish the Gold Report with coverage of gold, silver, bonds, the XAU, HUI, GDX, as well as more than 30 different mining equities. To see for yourself the types of profitable trades that are recommended within the Gold Report, sign up now by visiting TFNN.com. Don't miss out on the next great gold trade. Sign up today.
David White's newsletter, The Technology Insider, is focused like a laser on finding the next big things in technology. If you had invested only $10,000 in Microsoft in 1986, you'd have been a millionaire by 2000. Disruptive technology like Microsoft's is the key to these massive long-term profits, and the Tech Insider is the vehicle from TFNN to capitalize on these opportunities. This is the go-to newsletter that identifies, monitors, and profits on mostly little-known cutting-edge companies with great long-term prospects. David's experience is as an inventor of Emmy-winning animation products for TV and Hollywood that propelled a company public. Match that with 14 years as a full-time trader, and he's uniquely qualified to guide you through the light-speed world of ever-evolving high-tech. If you're ready to ride the next big technology bull market for less than $40 per month, log on to TFNN.com and get your 2-week free trial to the Technology Insider. Get in on the ground floor of the next big thing today.
Don't forget, you can listen to TFNN live on your mobile device 24 hours per day. Go to TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV. That's TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV for the latest market information.
And welcome back to the show. And I just thought of something too, is that food should never be advertised as part of a capitalistic system. And I think the same thing kind of goes for, news. Back in the 60s when we grew up, there was no advertising on news shows. They thought it was unethical. And it wasn't until CNN came where we had the advertising starting to pay for the news, and that's what changes.
Cable.
Yeah, cable. So it changes everything, and the same thing for food. I don't think we should be advertising food for profit. It's hard enough.
Think about it. What foods are advertised on television?
The only packaged foods.
Yeah, mostly it's macaroni and cheese. Feels like home.
Right.
Feels like comfort.
Yeah, comfort foods.
Cereals, a lot of advertising.
And
for
sodas.
cereals.
So
we don't watch commercials, so I get out of touch.
Yeah, that's for sure. So when describing someone has successfully made the transition to a primal or keto way of eating, we always refer to them as fat adapted or fat burning beasts. So what does that really mean to be fat adapted? And this is the leading story in our Health Signals newsletter. My current one. So I just wanted to really go over this because it's so important to understand what's going on. Fat adapted is a normal, preferred metabolic state of the human animal. It's nothing special. It's just something that we're meant to fuel ourselves. And
fat is a source of energy.
Fat is a source, and we only have two. The other is carbohydrates.
Right.
Now, the difference...
sugar.
Yeah, sugar, carbohydrates, very highly processed usually. They burn very quickly. Fat burns very slowly. The type of fuel that carbohydrates are is also a dangerous type of fuel. That's why your body doesn't have a way to store it except hiding it. And, the carbohydrates are actually stored right next to your muscles. So when you need that extra boost of energy, it's right there. It's fuel that's attached kind of to the muscle. What goes wrong is, of course, if you keep storing it and not using it, that's the problem. And the mechanism for that is really that you're not burning any fat at all. You're burning carbohydrates because that's all you're eating as a primary source. And so your biggest source, you start in the morning with cereals or things like that. You eat a sandwich
Toast.
at lunch, and then even though you may have some protein, but you have vegetables and you probably have lots of starches along to fill you up because these things make you feel good when you eat them, and they smell really good. So when you eat these things, they are put in your body. Your body is trying to get rid of it, so it can't burn it so fast. It burns all it can, but it stores the rest right next to your muscles, and that's how you get fatter and fatter and fatter. The other way, of course, is being fat adapted, starting with the fat and the protein and eating very little else so that fat is in the bloodstream continuously and you always have a source of fuel. So that means if you have a continuous source of fuel, you don't get hungry. No matter if you eat in 10 hours or 2 days ago, you're still not going to be hungry. And as time goes on, you're not going to get that ridiculous hunger that you have after 2 hours if you're eating cereal or pasta and things like
Yeah,
that.
I think the glucose is intended to quickly ignite, but the fat is what you need for sustained energy.
Right, like Nora Gagatis always said, the fat is that big log you put on the fire, and the carbohydrates are the paper or the small
And the
little sticks
kindling,
and the
yeah.
kindling that burn very fast.
Yeah.
It is important to understand that, when you're on a fat-adapted diet like we are, you're not continuously burning fat. On our trip, we would have a couple of pieces of chocolate at midday, probably kicked us right out of ketosis and gave us a little bit of boost of energy, and then after that energy is gone, right back to the fat. Now, if you're not fat adapted and you're used to eating carbohydrates all the time, your body doesn't have the mechanism to switch back and forth like that. Therefore, you go into the state of, for me, it was always being cranky and
Hangry.
hangry. Yeah, that's what it is. All right, hangry. And I would just go crazy. I mean, I couldn't function. If I was driving, I couldn't even.
Couldn't talk and drive at the
Yeah,
same
exactly.
time.
It was really tough.
Not fun.
And so when we made this transition to fat burning, it was just so relieving to me. So now we can go all day and there's no problem. Yeah,
We're
we
not
need
hungry.
to eat. And we're not hungry.
It's not like
it's an amazing thing.
You're sitting there, we're looking at your watch and saying, God, is it noon yet? I'm starving, and I never think about it.
Right. So our being in ketosis and being fat adapted the same thing. Well, fat adaptation does not necessarily mean you're in ketosis all the time. Ketosis is the use of fat derived ketones from the liver. This happens after you've depleted your glucose stores. So in the morning, if you're eating bacon and eggs and you don't replenish those glucose stores, then you're slowly but surely you're going to get into a fat-adapted state. And it's not the same for everybody. Some people snap to it right away. And once you're fat-adapted, that's the kind of the way it works. It can switch back and forth. You may not even notice it. Sometimes you can notice it. But if you're not fat adapted, that push to go into that fat storage is very, very difficult. And also, if you're pretty heavy and you've stored fat for a long time, this is also where the toxins are. So the toxins in the food and the stuff you're taking in are being hidden from your body by way of those fat stores. So it's kind of protecting you at the same time. So when you start burning that, the toxins start burning and they start getting into your body and makes you feel really bad. So if you're feeling crappy, you're not going to want to continue. And this is another stumbling block. So you really have to understand the process that you go through to change how you're going to use fuel.
And it says, what happens when a sugar burner goes 2, 3, 4 hours without food or skips an entire meal? They get ravenously hungry because the sugar burner's adipose tissue, which is the fat tissue, releases a bunch of fatty acids 4 to 6 hours after eating and during fasting, because as far as your biology is concerned, your muscles should be able to oxidize them. After all, we evolved to rely on beta oxidation of fat for the bulk of our energy needs. Once your blood sugar is all used up, which happens quickly, hunger sets in and your hand reaches into that chip bag again.
It sure does, and you can't stop. We've all been there. It's an amazing process. So, I just lost my train of thought.
More dietary fat is stored than burned. And that means that you gain a lot of body fat.
Yeah. Now, if you're just eating fat and protein and you're not getting any carbohydrates, your body is still smart enough to make carbohydrates out of the protein or maybe even out of the fat, they think. And that way you'll always have a little bit of fat around your muscles because the body knows that you're going to need this one day in the flight response. So if you need a boost of energy really quick and you haven't even eaten for a couple of days, you still have it there because those carbohydrates are sitting right beside your muscle, so you can run and climb a tree real quick if you need to.
Well, they also have found with studies that the ketogenic diet is helpful in balancing the diabetic response, the insulin response as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense too. Stick around, folks. We got a little bit more. Be right back.
back in the day, I joined Hotel California in 2006, and like many of you, was drawn in by, as well as,
whatever you think about, you bring about. Whatever you focus on grows.
You see, I believe that everything in life happens for us, not to us. And Tom ignited the fire within me to want to learn how to master the markets. So how did I go from knowing nothing about technical analysis to becoming the #1 market timer for the S&P 500 in 2018 and the #2 market timer in 2019? Simply put, I hired coaches with a proven track record, which led me to a whole new set of tools that I created to interpret the message of buyers and sellers. I would love the opportunity to teach you this award-winning set of tools and to help you improve your market timing. You can test drive my newsletter service, Mastering Probabilities, for the next 30 days with no risk to you. Plus, you'll gain access to archive workshops that'll take you step by step through my system. Sign up today by going to the homepage of TFNN.com and selecting Mastering Probability in the newsletter tab.
Hi folks, Tom O'Brien here. If you'd like to get my daily newsletter, Market Insights, then now is a great time to sign up for a 30-day free trial. Every morning by 9:30, I send out my morning letter to subscribers with market commentary on a variety of markets, currencies, and commodities to keep investors up to date on the day's trading action. Included in Market Insights are specific buy and sell recommendations for stocks, ETFs, and even options, with stops and price targets included for every trade in my newsletter. If you'd like to try my newsletter risk-free for 30 days, then head over to the front page of TFNN and you'll find Market Insights under Trading Newsletters. I use my years of trading experience to bisect and dissect the market every morning and give my subscribers the most important information they need to know for the day ahead. I even issue afternoon updates for my subscribers whenever warranted with important market action. I'm always scouring the market for the next great trading opportunity. Sign up for your 30-day free trial to my daily newsletter, Market Insights, today by visiting the front page of TFNN.com. Wow! Go get 'em, folks.
TFNN has developed a daily programming lineup for traders by traders. We start every trading day live at 8:30 a.m. with Tommy O'Brien hosting the morning market kickoff as he starts the day off by breaking down everything you need to know about what's going on for the trading day ahead. At 9 a.m., Larry Pesavento takes your calls and questions live on the air for the opening bell as he hosts Trade What You See. At 10 a.m., Tom and Tommy O'Brien host the Bull Bear Trading Hour. At 11 a.m., it's Kevin Hinks and Alex Coffey from TD Ameritrade Network with Fast Market. Basil Chapman at noon with the Tiger Technicians Hour. Steve Rhodes hosts the Trader's Edge at 1 p.m. Dave White with the Power Trading Hour at 2 p.m. And Tom O'Brien closes out the day for the final hour of trading live from 3 till 4. Don't miss a second of our daily programming lineup. Tune in to Tiger TV every trading day live at TFNN.com. Educating investors.
Welcome back. So this article here, researchers see promising results using cannabis terpenes to treat COVID-19.
Yeah, there was, we talked for a minute about cytokine storm syndrome.
Right.
In a former segment here, and there's a good explanation in this article. It says, cytokine storm syndrome is a form of inflammatory response where white blood cells are activated and release inflammatory cytokines, which then activate more white blood cells. The syndrome causes symptoms like fever, fatigue, vomiting, but can advance to a point where a patient might need a ventilator to stay alive or might die.
Yeah, and this is the kind of syndrome that happens because the body's kind of attacking itself. It's just overcompensating. Now, the serpentines are really fats. They're oils.
Cytokines.
Yeah. Fatokines, yeah, there you go.
Cytokines.
So they're fat deposits, they're little oils that they use, and the reason this is important to me because we were talking about diet and how the fats have been vilified, and just about every type of medicine that we use, they extract the oils out of plants and different things to help us. So these things are very important to understand, that these things are there to help us, and a lot of these plants have really good fats in them. And cannabis happens to be one that makes you feel good. It has lots of good properties in it. And I just thought it's very interesting that
they're showing that the terpene formulation combined with CBD oil is twice as effective as the leading corticosteroids that treat inflammation. Right. So if we can find something that's more natural and doesn't and is a lot less expensive. That can
And the
only be
steroids
good.
always have a downside too. You can get addicted to them. There's a lot of benefits from using something like these serpentines here. And cytokines or whatever they are. And it says the cannabis sativa variety, especially one high in the anti-inflammatory cannabinoids, CBDs, have been proposed to modulate gene expression and inflammation. So this is all really good news, and I'm sure we'll find lots of other products like this that can help us.
And
Thanks for
we'll
sticking
see
around.
you next week. Be safe.
Yeah, for sure. Bye-bye.